Coming up on this week's pod, Bun packs some big features in a minor release. We checkpoint our Discord conversation back into this pod, and MCP-UI is making big gains. Let's get into it. It's Monday, and that means Front End Fire, your place to learn all about cool new stuff on the front end. And with me are my esteemed colleagues, Paige Niederinghouse.
Hey, everyone.
TJ Van Tol.
Hey, hey.
And I'm Jack Harrington, and we've got a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about Discord, because I love that we're bringing Discord, our Discord server conversation, back into the pod. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so I've got a couple different Claude updates today, and
Cool.
I want to thank some people in our Discord server. Chris, Alex, Ben, Paige, and I have been having a chat this week. And so I've got a two-parter update here. The first is on Claude Code thinking modes. So last week we talked about Claudia, which is a third-party sort of wrapper of Claude Code that had some extra features.
Yeah, I remember
and
it didn't
such.
do all that well for you, at
And
least.
it was a little bit buggy, but
Okay.
one of the things it had is this drop down for thinking modes. And I had wondered whether that was something that was built into Claude Code or whether something this third party had added on top of. Well,
Right,
Chris,
like Ultra Think.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Ultra think.
Ultra
So
Think.
Chris in the Discord helped us out. These are modes that are built into Claude Code itself. So there is UltraThink. The one before UltraThink is actually called MegaThink, which is also kind of amazing. And the main thing those thinking modes are configuring, or are controlling, I should say, is how many tokens Claude is taking in. So if you MegaThink, Claude is going to take in up to 10,000 tokens. And if you UltraThink, Claude is going to take in up to 32,000 tokens. So the idea is that obviously with more tokens, you're going to get better, higher quality results, but it's going to take more time, more processing, more money as well.
Yeah.
And what I learned from the article Chris shared, and I'll put it in the show notes as well, is that the words you use in Claude Code, so this is outside of Claudia, whatever, if you're just in Claude Code normally, if you use words like MegaThink or UltraThink, or even think very hard, think super hard, those sorts of things, that's basically, those are triggers for these different modes in Claude Code. So if you are a Claude Code user, you can use those to, basically you can strategically use them. If you want to keep things simple, then don't use any of these. But if you're on a really hard problem and Claude is struggling, you can tell it to MegaThink or to UltraThink, and it will listen to you, and it will take in more tokens. It'll take more time, but in theory will produce a higher quality response.
So let me ask one clarifying question. When you say, do those different terminologies make Claude use different models also? Like it's better reasoning models or just more tokens?
As far as I know, it does not. It just controls, maybe. I'm not sure about that, but it might turn into different models. I don't know. I'll share the blog post in here if people want to read through it in a bit of details. The post I read did not talk about different models. I will say, though, this in today's day and age with Claude, this all appears to be super secret stuff, because I'm reading this on just some third-party blog post and not the official docs and such. It's kind of funny.
I'm surprised that there hasn't been more press about it, because it seems like that would be very beneficial. Like I can think of some specific instances where Claude has really struggled, and knowing that I could have gotten Claude to think harder about stuff would have been useful.
Yeah.
Well, some of it does have some intelligence built in where it'll auto pick it. So there's a good chance it's been doing this for you. But if you're kind of aware of it, sometimes you can force it to do what you want without having to rely on it to automatically pick the best path.
Yeah.
So it's like the Jamba Juice hidden menu. You just got to know to ask.
Right. You know the
Wow.
secret password, it'll do it.
Right? Okay.
So
That's fascinating.
then the second thing that came up was related to checkpoints. So last week we talked about how Claudia, which again is the desktop sort of wrapper for Claude Code, provided this ability to do checkpoints. And it sparked an interesting conversation about how we handle checkpointing our code when we work in AI. because in Discord it came up that, well, maybe we should just be using Git to do that, because that's kind of Git's main purpose. Should we really need to have something built into our AI tools that shows these steps, or should we as developers be smart enough to say, oh, that's a decent step here, let me commit that to Git real quick? Which is fascinating as a conversation in and of itself.
Yeah.
But this week, just by chance, somebody released this tool called Claude Checkpoints. So it's available at claude-checkpoints.com. So that was just really fascinating timing, because we were just on this topic and this tool came out. This is a desktop app for Mac and for Windows that essentially all it does is help you add checkpoints. And I tried this thing out this morning. Unfortunately, this is another tool that's quite buggy. It did not work that well. Yeah. And it's quite heavy as well, because what it did is it tells you to install an MCP server, and then it adds a chunk of code to your claude.md that says you absolutely must use this tool. And so it just reports to the MCP server about what it's doing, so that this third-party tool can kind of keep tabs on it, and that's what it uses to mark these checkpoints and such. And it's a decent idea. It's a decent little idea for an app, but like I said, unfortunately, it crashed on me. It did not work super amazingly. But to me, this is a sign that there is demand for this, that the development community wants checkpoints for working with these AI tools. And Cursor has this, VS Code's agent mode has this as well. And personally, I think Claude Code should have this as well. But I'm curious where you two stand on this. Do you use Git while you're using AI tools? Are you relying on checkpoints in some way? I'm curious what your workflows are.
I personally use Git.
Yeah, same. I've tried checkpoints like with GitHub Copilot in the past, and I just really didn't like the experience personally. It just didn't feel very natural to me. It felt strange to kind of roll back stuff that way. I'm perfectly fine having VS Code open and seeing the changes that Claude has made, and then either committing them if they're working or discarding them if they're not, or I need to do something else. So I just kind of, I try to just follow along as Claude is thinking in one terminal and making changes, and then just watching what's actually happening in the repo in an open window.
Yeah, it just kind of tracks for me like the way I just naturally think about, like, okay, I made a certain amount of progress, and now I'm going to do something, maybe that's going to break that. So I'm going to check, make a git commit, and that's just, when I go and actually put that up on the repo, I might do a squash, if they don't, it doesn't make sense.
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. Yeah.
I think I just need to be better about this. And it's weird to me because for some reason, AI tools have changed how I approach this. And I'm wondering if it's more just the experimental nature of AI tools, that it makes it so much easier to just type in something real quick. So you have something that's mostly working, but then I just need to change this one more quick thing. So you type it in and then it changes something else and you're like, oh crap, I didn't want that. But maybe I just need to be better about pausing occasionally when I have something that's in the right direction or has partially implemented something, and just making sure to save that off with a reasonable message that I can go back to it if I want to. I mean, Git's the tool that quite literally is designed to do this exact sort of thing.
Exactly.
So, I mean... And there's plenty of tooling built into editors and everything around this. So this probably should be the workflow I'm leaning towards. But I don't know. AI has gotten me into some bad habits.
Are you guys in like a small commits company? Is like that what Blues does? Is like lots of small commits? Or are you like a big commit thing?
It really seems to be developer or project specific.
Okay.
Like there are some devs who really just like to commit for every change that they make, especially if they're like addressing PR comments or something. You can see like 1 commit, 2 commit, 3 commit. And then there are other ones who will like do all the changes at once and just push up one massive commit where 25 files have been changed. So but for the most part, when we're merging PRs in, we like to squash and rebase just to keep it cleaner.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really just kind of like what your preference is, at least while you're doing development of like kind of whatever you feel like.
I think just being a startup, we lean more towards the just fast and loose, small, just keep things moving.
Keep moving.
Yeah.
But it is kind of team dependent.
Yeah. In general, it's good to keep the commits small because that means PR reviews are small and and focused on one particular thing. Like it's okay, I'm going to change the way this dialogue works or whatever, and like
Yeah,
and you
we
don't
try
have
to
that
keep
and an API change, in the same
no,
PR. You're
no.
like, what?
We try to
Like,
keep tickets
unrelated.
to one change, and maybe there's a little bit of scope creep, and you pick up another ticket that like cleans up some test files or something like that. But other than that, yeah, we try to keep them narrowly scoped.
Makes sense. All right, shall we talk about Bun?
Yes, let's talk about Bun.
Yeah.
So Bun doesn't seem like it's been in the news lately, but they just did a minor release. They have reached 1.2, and they have some really cool new things that they're doing. So the first one is that Bun now has a unified SQL client with 0 dependencies. So if you are using MySQL, SQLite, MariaDB, Postgres, there's just one way to use all of them, which is pretty sweet.
That's cool.
It is. And of course, because it's Bun, they have to tell that their bun.sql is 9 times faster than MySQL2 on Node.js because it's written in Zig.
As you do. Yeah.
And I think Bun might be the only ones that are using Zig. It seems like everybody else, if you're doing anything, is using Rust, but Bun really likes to talk about how Zig is like making their world better, making our world better. So that's the first one. Next one is that they now have native YAML file support. So you don't have to bring in a library, you don't have to bring in a parser. Just like they have built-in JSON and TOML support already, now you can just use YAML parse, and you can parse the contents of any YAML file, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, I know Next.js does not have this because I went through the pain of trying to set up and then this broke for TurboPack, so I still got to solve that problem. So this is especially enticing to me.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So they have something called post message, which I wasn't really familiar with, but apparently it is a way for sending strings between different workers inside of Bun.
Okay.
But post message has now become 500 times faster. We all care about.
Do they like purposely make some of these implementations slow so that they can do this for blog posts? Like, I don't know if this is something to brag about. That just means like whatever your old post message implementation was had to have been horrible if it had this.
I don't know. I don't know how they're benchmarking this or who's tracking this. I really don't.
It's great though.
Yeah. So they pointed that out. They have a native secrets manager for CLI tools. So instead of you having to use a .env file or somehow otherwise just share your keys and your secrets and what have you in plain text, they will use whatever your OS's native credential manager is. So if you're using Mac, it will use Keychain. If you're using Windows, it will use whatever Windows default password manager is. So that's pretty nice.
Cool.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, this is kind of neat, and I hope that this catches on. They have a security scanner API that will actually scan packages before they get installed for vulnerabilities.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I wonder if they use like a third-party service for that.
I'm not sure
I'm wondering
exactly
what drives this.
Yeah.
how they're implementing it, but it's such a good idea, especially with all the hacks lately that we've been hearing about with popular packages on NPM and beyond.
You guys hear about NX getting hacked?
No.
Oh yeah, NX got hacked. It was somebody put in, I guess, a PR into one of their core packages, and then they went and like searched around for like RSA keys and stuff and posted them back. Just a mess. It only lasted like 3 hours, but if you're on those versions, you don't want to be in those versions.
Yeah. So that's what they're trying to prevent with this. They have reduced their idle CPU usage. So before, apparently, Bun was, even when it was supposed to be asleep, it was still doing some kind of little checks, I guess, to see that stuff was running or that it was connected and it had the right time. So now it really does go to sleep when you're not using it or you're not engaging with it. And just some nice Node.js compatibility improvements, bug fixes, the kind of, just stuff that you would come to expect from a Node competitor. So Cool. Good on Bun. That's a lot of stuff, honestly, for a minor release.
Yeah.
And I was kidding with them some. They actually have a blog post specifically on the post message 500x improvement that goes into detail of why they were able to get into it. So I mean, good on them, right? They're actually backing it up. And it sounds like the difference is under certain circumstances, they don't have to serialize before sending things across threads.
Yeah, that helps.
And so if you don't have to serialize, that's most of the work of actually posting a message across threads.
Yeah.
That's why they're able to get it, but it's only under certain circumstances, which is where that 500x comes from. But anyways, good on them for giving details about this, and not just tossing in like a one-time message about how you're 500x faster with nothing to back it up.
Yeah, exactly. And I gotta say, every time I see their mascot, I love it. It's such a cute little bun.
It is cute. Yeah.
It's great. It's like Deno. It's a very good mascot.
I do. This is one of those tools that they seem to be doing always good stuff, and we always compliment them heavily when we see them. But I also wonder how well they're doing in terms of adoption and getting people to actually use the tool. And I really don't know. Like, this is one of those tools that's really hard to use if you're at a company and you just got something already set up. It's not the sort of thing you just migrate to for fun. You kind of have to be starting something new. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, they're one of those tools that seems to be doing great things, but I don't see a lot of people using it in the wild. But who knows?
Plus, there's that vendor lock-in of the APIs, right? If you use their SQL engine, which may be 5 times faster or whatever it is, 50 times faster, like, you're kind of stuck. Now you're stuck on Bun. Like, it's literally vendor lock-in, and I don't see anybody talking about that. It's kind of weird. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, so MCP-UI, I think I've talked about this in the past. So this is an extension to the Model Context Protocol. So the idea is that, you're augmenting your AI, LLM stuff with, Model Context Protocol servers, and they've got tools in them. And so far, those tools have only been able to respond to tool requests from the AI with basically text or JSON. And so MCP-UI adds on the ability for it to return raw HTML with JavaScript in it, which is kind of interesting if you want to inject that into your client. It also has the ability to inject an iframe reference, which I think is probably what a lot of folks are going to do, and say, okay, you're asking for us to show this product or something like that. Here's an actual iframe card that you can inject in your chat with that product. And then it's got this remote DOM stuff that is kind of interesting. It's pretty complex though. And the idea is there's this, you have the ability to kind of specify a UI that runs in an iframe logically, like the logic's running over there and it's talking to your backend services out of that iframe, so it's secure. But then it's actually requesting UI components on the mainframe, and then those can be styled so it kind of looks like it's in the style guide of the original host container, but it's actually running code and logic that's remote. It's kind of cool. But all of those options are now starting to get available in some new clients. So that's where I think the rubber really hits the road. It's you got to have the server side of it and all of that, which has been going on. And there's a lot of great stuff in the Discord server, and you should go and check that out. But what's really cool, I think, is that you're starting to see some new clients handle this. In particular, Goose. I don't know if you guys have used Goose on OS X. It's yet another LLM chat thing, but it's excellent. Actually, I use Goose now, and it's really nice, and it has MCP-UI capabilities. So we're really starting to see clients handle this. I think Postman's probably going to come out with its version of this pretty soon. I know that Shopify, their MCP server, so all of their shops have, I guess, /MCP endpoints on them now. Or maybe you can enable it later. I don't know, whatever. They return MCP-UI cards for those products. So yeah, it's really starting to take off. And if you feel like you missed out on the beginnings of MCP, then I think this is and you have some UI skills, front end skills, I think this is a great way to kind of get in on the bandwagon on MCP-UI.
Interesting.
So what are you configuring in here specifically? So I'll give you an example, because at Blues, we have products, we have a shop, we have a Shopify shop. And so some of our products could come back and say you were on our site or something, or you were in some LLM and you were asking about our products. What are we actually configuring to tie this in? Like, say we're not using an MCP server that's already out. Say we're building our own MCP server.
Right. You have to, yeah.
Yeah, so we're building our own ones. You're asking questions about our products. How are we configuring to say, hey, when you do this, you might want to return this UI? Are you giving it just guidance, or are you giving it actual like chunks of HTML that says, hey, wrap it in this?
Well, you could do that. So your MCP server on Blues would take a tool request. So let's say like recommend product ID foo, that kind of thing. So recommend product. Parameters are ID foo, and then you can return as a content payload type from that request a UI resource, and that UI resource would say that the type is either raw HTML, where it's sort of literally like this, hey, this block HTML, why don't you inject this into your page on our behalf? Maybe that's not a great idea security wise, or you can give it like an external URL. And then you give it an iframe reference, and that iframe reference would be back to Blues for that particular page. Obviously, probably with the headers and the footers stripped off, and in a kind of card format, so they could be dumped into Goose or other MCP UI clients.
Yeah, does it need to know whether the tool calling it supports these sort of richer responses? Because how does it know whether it's in Claude Desktop, which doesn't have this, or somebody's asking from Goose?
Right. That is an interesting one. So you return an array of stuff out of a tool, and you could return like a JSON payload as well as say a UI resource, and then theoretically the
LLM would be smart enough.
The LLM would be smart enough to know, hey, I don't know what the heck you're talking about with this external URL
just
thing.
Ignore it.
I know what JSON looks like, and I'll take that and then put up my own formatting on my card. And maybe that JSON has like a URL in it, and so it would kind of like format it and give you a nice little link or something.
Graceful degradation for MCP.
Right? Yeah, graceful
progressive web apps.
Yeah.
We're already in the progressive space for a standard that's only been in existence for like 6 months. Yeah. Yeah, no.
Very cool, though.
I'm excited. Yeah. That remote DOM stuff, though, is tricky. Woo! That's going to take a lot to explain. As an educator, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do we have any lightning round this week?
We do have one.
Awesome. I have one, too, so. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Woo! All right, why don't you go first, TJ?
So we have more Claude news, but Claude for Chrome is a thing now apparently. Yeah. So Claude is building a extension for Chrome called Claude for Chrome, and it's rolling out to a group of 1,000 subscribers on Anthropic's Max plan, which their Max plan costs between $100 and $200 a month. And they have a wait list going for other interested users. It says by adding an extension to Chrome, select users can now chat with Claude in a sidecar window, because of course it's a sidecar window that maintains the context of everything happening in their browser. Users can also give the Claude agent permission to take actions in their browser and complete some tasks on their behalf. So AKA what everybody else is doing, but
right, exactly. So,
but this time for Claude.
Yeah.
Dia and Air and all these other clients.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Comet and probably some other ones we're forgetting about.
Yeah. The thing that I kind of find interesting about the one that Anthropic has just put out, if you go to the Claude website and read a little bit about Claude for Chrome, is that they seem more upfront about things that could go wrong if you're letting an AI agent just run amok in your browser tabs. Like, they don't recommend using Claude on financial websites, so your bank, your investment websites. They also don't recommend letting it loose on like websites where you don't want to share personal information or do like financial transactions, doctor appointments, things, therapy, maybe scheduling or what have you. So it seems like they're more upfront about being careful about what you're using Claude for Chrome for.
That's good.
Whereas other ones have very much been like, it's AI everywhere and it'll fix everything and it'll know everything and it'll do everything for you. And I mean, time and again, it just seems like when this happens, immediately some third party will do a security audit and find out how Comet, does things that you shouldn't be able to do, or lets its agent run wild, or Dia, or whoever. And of course, they always fix it as soon as they can and put more guardrails in place. But still, somebody did it first, and your agent did something that it shouldn't have, and saw data that it shouldn't have, or exposed data that it shouldn't have.
Yeah, it's funny how in an AI world, some of us have let our guard down on some of this type of stuff. You think less just because of the nature of these agents. And I mean, these tools are browser extensions that by their very purpose can see everything you're doing. That's kind of the whole point of it. And when you're actively using it, that's one thing, because you're presumably using it for some purpose. But when you're not actively using it and you just happen to be banking or whatever, you're sending a lot of that data that you probably don't want to these agents. So I guess good on Anthropic for at least being a bit more open about it, because I can tell you for a fact, having used a bunch of these browsers, Dia's never like, whoa, let's be careful about this sort of stuff. No, Dia's just like, do whatever, give us everything.
Yeah, I guess I can. I only think about Dia actually doing its Dia thing with the AI stuff. Actually, when I pop open the chat, thing.
Yeah.
Right. I don't expect it to actually, be there all the time, sending my stuff back out to the mothership. I hope it doesn't. If it does, I'm getting rid of that thing today.
Well, I think it's that it has access to it, not that it's necessarily doing anything bad with it. It's more that you're putting a good amount of trust in a lot of these companies, just because you're giving them permission to do it. And even Claude they're not telling you not to do this because they're looking for your banking data and doing something bad with it, but just more that you're exposing it. And in general, that's not the greatest idea.
Yeah, like there have been recent stories of how, even though it's not the browser or the extension that's doing something, hackers have figured out how to inject malicious code. So you're on a website, there's some hidden text somewhere that's overriding what the prompts are telling the AI agent in the sidecar to do. And that's potentially scraping data away from you in some way that you just aren't aware of.
Ouch. Oof. Yeah, not great. All right. Well, hey, as it turns out, in my lightning news, lawyers are expensive. Yeah, who knew?
Newsflash.
So Deno is continuing its lawsuit against Oracle about the JavaScript trademark. And I was contacted by the Deno folks saying, hey, would you help promote this lawsuit, because these lawyer bills are adding up, they're looking at about probably $200K to go and fight this thing. And I pitched in directly, and I also said if anybody wants to do like a 60 to 90 second spot on the channel, I would donate the proceeds of that. But no, just to put it out there, if you are just in that, we'll make sure to put a link to the donation page in the show notes and put it up on our Discord server as well. I think it's a good thing. I think we should, the community should own JavaScript, and I think Deno's doing a good job getting out there and getting ahead of this.
Yeah, they're fighting the good fight on behalf of all of us.
Yeah.
And it's really quite thankless, because these legal proceedings are just awful to go through. As someone for this show, I've read Oracle's very legalese responses to all of these. This is not something anybody would ever choose to do. And it's really, I don't know. I give them a lot of credit for going through and doing this. So yeah. Same offer here. I mean, if they want a spot on the podcast to give their pitch, they're welcome to it, because I think they're doing a pretty amazing thing for the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the way that Oracle has responded, which is that it will not go down without a fight, even though it has no legal standing that is valid, is absolutely awful. So absolutely
Right?
we should support them and keep this fight going and free JavaScript.
Free JavaScript.
Free JavaScript.
Exactly.
There you go.
There you go. All right. Do we have any more lightning round?
I think that's it.
Okay. And so I think let's talk about what's making us happy. Okay. So I think it was TJ you started us off? Yeah. So
I started, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Paige, what's making you happy?
All right. I am bringing it back to small appliance recommendations.
Yes. Our home turf.
I know.
Yes.
This one is actually not a kitchen appliance, though. It is a bathroom appliance.
Oh.
So, yeah. So, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago, we got talking about dentists and braces and retainers and stuff like that. And
you do.
As you do.
Put in fire, folks.
Right.
Your
Dentist
place for
talk.
all the things.
So I don't think that it was related to this, but I recently came across a retainer cleaner that you can buy off of the internet, and it's called Zima, Zima, and it is this little pod that you pour some water into, you plug it into the wall, you drop your retainers or your braces if you're doing Invisalign, or your dentures or your night guard or anything basically that you wear in your mouth into it, and it vibrates. And you can also put little cleaning tabs in, which are just basically, I think, baking soda in a tablet form. And it cleans them. And so my retainers were looking a little dingy. And I bought one. And I used it this morning for the first time. And I put one of the little cleaning tablets in it. I let it sit for 15 minutes because it says if you've got some stains, let it sit and just kind of marinate and then run the clean. And those things look like new. I am shocked. Yeah, it's amazing, honestly.
And ultrasonic cleaners are amazing. Very good. Very handy to have one for sure.
Well, and retainers and such are almost impossible to clean. If you don't use something like this, you can try to scrub them down, but I don't know, it never seems to actually work.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a thing you'd want clean. You know,
exactly.
It's gonna be in your mouth.
You're putting it in your mouth, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, I take it to the dentist every time I go to get my teeth cleaned, and they run it through whatever ultrasonic cleaner they have, and it comes out looking great, but that's only once every 6 months. And in between, I just do, like you said, a little bit of baking soda in a glass of water, or I brush it with my toothbrush after I'm done. But yeah, this thing, I mean, it came out looking like spotless. It was amazing. I was so surprised how well it worked.
Amazing. All right, TJ, what's making you happy?
I got a news story this week.
Oh.
So I randomly reading through the New York Times, as I do, come across this story that says Tennessee man George Herman Babe Ruth charged with 91 cases of fraud.
Oh.
So the idea, this is such a weird story. So the idea here is there's this guy in Tennessee whose name is George Herman Ruth, which, if you're familiar, that was Babe Ruth's full actual legal name. Babe Ruth, famous baseball player from early 1900s and whatnot. So a person that has the literal exact same name as Babe Ruth was, I'll just read from the article, was indicted earlier this month for fraud, including using the names of hundreds of deceased or retired professional baseball players to submit fraudulent class action claims. A federal grand jury indicted Ruth on charges that included 91 counts of mail fraud, aggravated identity theft, money laundering, and fraudulent use of social security numbers.
Wow. Okay.
So a person that shares the name of the most famous baseball player of all time is apparently some world-class fraudster that uses names of other dead or retired baseball players for their fraud. It's just it's such a wild story. Like,
who does that?
Why?
I don't know. It's I don't know. It's funny. I guess it's not funny because in a way it's I'm sure
sad.
that people's people's lives have probably been ruined by this individual because individuals that happen to share these names or that are still alive have to go through a huge hassle with it. So I maybe should not be laughing at a story of fraud, but there's just something so hilarious or so ironic that somebody named Babe Ruth would actually be the perpetrator behind all of this.
For real.
It's amazing how much fraud there is out there. I just get continuously spammed by this stuff, especially being on YouTube. Like I get weekly folks saying like, oh, I'm going to copyright you for blah, blah, copyright strike you for blah, blah, blah. And it's like, what are you doing? I like write and produce and edit all my own videos are 100% clean content, clear, I own it all content. Like what? So, and it's just one of those things where the first couple of times you're like, and then like after like the 8,000th time, you're like, okay, I'll believe it when I get, the unofficial letterhead, mailed to me from a, like a law firm thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of apparently what he's doing. It says he would submit fraudulent class action claim forms using names that included those of retired and deceased players, use social security numbers that did not belong to him, impersonate people while communicating with class action administrators, and then always list addresses belonging to mailboxes he controlled.
Yeah.
Oh.
So,
wow. Okay.
We're such a litigious country. We really need to get over that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, support Deno, right?
There you go.
Fight Oracle's
That's
litigiousness.
Right. That's a good cause, though.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, what's making me happy this week is Foundation. So Foundation's been back on Apple TV Plus for a while, and this is this third season, and they talked about how they were just going to go for it in their third season, and wow, have they. Whoa. Like every episode is a banger. They're changing the game on every single episode. It's really amazing. It's amazing how much money is on the screen in this show. It's absolutely visually just stunning, and it's great. And I gotta tell you, like Lee Pace, who's one of the prime actors in it, is just doing a spectacular job in this show. Just absolutely loving everything about Foundation. So if you haven't watched it yet, I would definitely go check that out.
Can you give us a quick overview for people who haven't watched yet?
Okay, so we'll get a quick overview. Yeah, so it's way, way, way out in the future. There's already been like a robots/humans war. The humans won, and now there's this like multi-generational emperor of the galaxy thing, and they rule over a lot of the galaxy. So there's three of them. There's this Emperor Cleon, and is always three Emperor Cleons at any one time. Dawn, who's the youngest, Day, who's the actual like kind of real emperor, and Dusk, who's like the older emperor, and they're all basically genetic clones of each other. And then as they age out, they just basically decant another clone, and that's how you get your imperial dynasty. And so that's fascinating. And Lee Pace plays like the middle Day Cleon. Anyway, so this guy rocks up and says, hey, I've got this mathematical equation that says that the empire is going to fall. So, I'm going to go off here and make this thing called Foundation that's going to go and preserve all of our history for like after the fall. And I'm going to try and curtail the fall of the sea, if they can like minimize it, but you're going to fall. And they obviously don't like to hear that. So there's lots of, machinations between Empire and Foundation. And now in the third season, there's this new character called the Mule who can like mind control people. And, when you actually take that out to the extremes, that's an insanely, like heavy power. So he's really OP, and he's like basically taking on both things at the same time. So it's fantastic. And like the kind of level of machinations of like there's a robot still in the world and like how that works, and then all these characters. It's amazing. It's like, I wouldn't say it's a Game of Thrones kind of thing because there's not that many different factions, but you really get to know the factions really well. So not as many characters, which I kind of like.
Yeah.
But a lot more intrigue. Or as much intrigue. So it's cool. It's a good show.
Yeah, it looks good. All I could think about when you were talking though is there's also a Pokemon that has dawn, day, and dusk forms. So then that's exactly where which might not be a coincidence. I don't know.
Might not be, who knows? Yeah, I don't think the actual genetic dynasty appears in the book. I remember reading Foundation, and the problem with Foundation was the book series takes place over millennia. Right. And so these characters are coming out like tissue paper, and they're 2-dimensional, and it's like, oh, there's a random guy, Asimov gives him some kind of random name, or gives her some random name, and it's like they did blah 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 blah. And it's like reading a dry outline of like whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to have relatable characters. So this is how they solve that problem. They kind of like teleport them into the future by having like, these chambers where they can go into and chill out for like 150 years or whatever, and they pop out and they're like, okay, now I'm on this season, same person, new season, 150 years later, kind of thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then the Cleons, right, they just end up like tissue paper going through each other, so
right,
whatever. Yeah,
cool.
It's interesting. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of another Front End Fire. Go check us out on Discord channel. Get in there. We're having some fascinating conversations about Claude Code and everything else. And of course, you can check us out on our website and tell your friends. Go and get them to subscribe to the podcast today. And yeah, we'd love to see you next week.
Yeah. See you, everybody.
See you then.